Welcome to Yoga with Cynthia. I'm Cynthia Bialik, and both the host and the producer for this program. Irene Faithful is often here, faithfully with me, and we're going to be doing a restorative class today. We're here regularly. We come into your home to provide you a yoga class of different natures. We've had yoga for back pain relief, yoga for the athlete, and more. But today is going to be very different. You're going to be relaxing for 2-3 minutes. Restorative classes can last 5 minutes in a pose, but it's usually during that longer period of time that the muscles surrender. And if you have a very tight spot over time with this kind of practice, you can release chronically tight muscles that have been that way for years. So if you have bad knees, this may not be appropriate for you today, but if you have a bolster or if you have a cushion, if you could get it at this time, we're actually going to start on the cushion first. We're going to be straddling our bolster, but you can be on a cushion easily or use a block. So if you have a yoga block, you can use that as well. So we're going to go ahead and slide our bolster back to the back of our yoga mat, and we're going to sit on the bolster with our legs out to the side like this. Now you'll notice, because we're up higher, you're going to notice initially, hey, I can move my pelvis a little bit easier. I can move it around. I can move it back and forth. When your sitting bones are not fully anchored on the mat, you've got some wiggle room. Do you notice you can move like this? So I want you to do that right now, because before we start to stretch, I want to make sure that we have good oxygen and blood flow around the body. So let's move those shoulders around a little bit, and then put your hands on your hips and move those hips side to side. And we're going to still use our yogic breathing, the deeper pranayama breathing today. So the breathing is in through the nose and out through the nose. But if you can, do equal breaths. Think about how long it takes you to breathe in, and you're going to breathe out with the same speed. So we're going to start today with our hands by our side, and we're going to start by hinging at the hip. So our back is nice and long. We're pulling up through the crown of your head, and we're just going to hold here. Those of you that have more flexibility can go ahead, but we're not after rounding the back and pulsing and reaching. We're not there. What we're doing is simply hinging at the hip, dropping the pubic bone down, and allowing the crown of the head to move upwards so we get the benefits of lengthening through the spine. And we're using our hands to support that pose. So I want you to close your eyes and breathe in and out through the nose. Now from here, we're going to be going into pigeon's pose. We're going to only hold these poses for a minute or two. In a longer restorative class where you might be there for an hour and a half, you'd hold the poses for 3 to 5 minutes. So what we're going to do is bend the right leg. And those of you that have difficulties with tight hips, the IT band being tight, any muscles being tight, if you can't totally achieve what we're doing, please modify to what you need. So if you can't bring the legs straight across the mat, fold it in slightly. But we're going to swing the other leg back. And we're going to try to straighten that left leg as much as we can. And then we're going to bring those elbows down and let your head drop to the ground. Now, those of you that feel that you can come all the way out, go ahead and come all the way out and stretch forward as much as you can. Now, while we're feeling this stretch, if you feel pain in your knee joint or in any joint, please move yourself around to free that space. So if you need to, focus on rolling over more to the left to get a deeper stretch in the glutes, then pulling out to the right. So you'll notice if you're more out to the right, you're not going to get the same stretch in the psoas. So try to lean more to the left and continue to breathe. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So walk your hands back in, and we're going to go ahead and reposition, straightening the right leg this time, and slotting your left leg forward, bringing it as close to the front of the mat as you can, sliding your other leg all the way back. And once again, start the approach to the mat. And again, you're trying to roll more out to the right. If you find that that poses you any joint discomfort, you're going to find a position that doesn't cause that. Make sure your prop of your cushion is behind your hip if you need it to be there, and let your head come down. You can stretch those arms out in front. Now slowly come out of that, and we're going to come back up. And now we're going to go ahead and place that bolster between our legs. And those of you that have knee issues, we're going to stretch those quads. But if this is too much for you, for your knees, I'm going to have you stretch those legs a little differently. So go ahead and come to the very front of your mat. So I'm going to give an option to you here. You're going to come to the front of your mat like this, and you're just going to lay back on the mat, turning your hands this way. Okay? So if your knees are an issue, your position is here. If you want to get a greater stretch for the psoas and those quads, you're going to sit with the bolster right at the edge of your butt, and you're going to come down and rest your head on your bolster. So, a modification of what's called hero's pose, but this is just a good way to stretch the psoas and those quads. Deepen your breaths. Let your rib cage rise up towards the ceiling as you breathe. And as you exhale, just feel the chest collapsing downward. Keeping your mouth closed the whole time, just be aware of how your chest feels how it feels like it's expanding with each of your breaths. Now we're going to come on up. And now position your knees. And your hips are going to be right in front of your bolster. Position your knees right at the end of your mat so your knees are at 90 degrees. And we're going to recline on our bolster here. So our arm is behind the bolster. And we're going to place our ear on the bolster. So the left arm comes in front and the right arm is behind us. Now we're going to slowly reposition, taking your right arm out and resting back on the bolster. Put your head there and open to the ceiling if you can. Now we have blocks here. If you feel more comfortable, you can put your hand on the block if it's too much on your shoulder. And now let's come back onto the other side. So here we go. Legs are at 90 degrees. Bring your left arm behind your back. Right arm is resting forward to start. Just stretching the front of your shoulder on the left side. forget about your breaths. Continue those deep breaths. Now start to slide your left arm out from underneath you and open the rib cage. And again, if you want to use that block, you can rest your hand on the block. So feel free to do that. Put it under your back arm if that's comfortable for you. Whatever makes it much more enjoyable. Continue. Remember, your focus is always just on your breathing. But if you find that you have a spot in your body that's uncomfortable, move yourself around. Just slowly, gently, subtly find a small change that unlocks that discomfort. Or maybe you have a really dull pain somewhere. And if you move your legs further away from the body, that takes care of it. So go ahead and take care of those little issues that might be cropping up. And continue your breaths. Now slowly come out of that pose. And I'm going to do this to the side. Irene's going to do it straight out, but this way you can see me a little bit more easily. The next one, I'm going to position my bolster so that my shoulder blades are over the end of my bolster. So I'm going to allow my shoulder blades to pull back. I'm going to let my chin come up in the air. And again, if that's too much for you, you can always put your block behind your head. So if that's better for you, go ahead and do this. That's perfectly fine. There's no right or wrong when you're looking at restorative. The wrong is doing something that's not comfortable. The right is keep shifting yourself until you find the best place for your body. So if this is better for you, please feel free to do it this way. Continue your slow breaths. And we're going to start to bring the elbows into the body. Reach across your chest, onto the shoulders. Tuck your chin into your chest and come up slow. All right, now we're going to do legs up the wall without actually putting our feet on the wall. We're going to go ahead and slide the hips up on the bolster like this. And then we're going to bring those legs up in the air. Allow those shoulders to relax down and back. And just continue to breathe in and out through the nose. Continue those slow breaths. Quiet your mind, relax your face. Now start to bring those legs down. Bring them down to the ground, and then slowly roll over to one side and come back up. And now we're going to lay the bolster right underneath the belly. So if you have a back that bothers you, sometimes a little back support feels really good. So what we're going to do is position the roller right underneath your pubic bone so it lifts your back and supports your low back. Bring the arms on the outside edges of your mat, and we're going to just relax and turn the head to your right. Now turn your head to your left. And now we're going to come back to center and have a seat on our mats. And bring that bolster between your legs. How do you feel? You feel good? I hope you feel great at home. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for watching Yoga with Cynthia. This has been very different for us too. We haven't done a restorative class. And so take some of these ideas. We have more. But if you want to just complete your relaxation, we're just going to lay our bellies on the bolster and just close our eyes and put our forehead down for the last few minutes here if you want to join. Until next time, namaste. I think I'm going to change out of these